So let's go back into our flow line view and see how that's been affected by the relationships we've defined. And so what we can see now is something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year duration for this schedule, for this superstructure schedule, which is not ideal. But again, that's due to the fact that we only have one person assigned to each activity. So the next step here would be to assign the manpower per activity, which can be done explicitly, as I prefer, simply dragging these lines and defining the manpower required. Let's take care of the big one first. I'm going to pull our concrete in. I think that we at least need to have a 3-man crew on the concrete. So when you drag that line in, the program is going to, it knows what your productivity rate is, and it knows what your quantity of work is. So it'll suggest to you the number of men it thinks you need to complete the work in that amount of time. I'm going to define 3-man crew for the concrete. I'm going to pull it back, let's say reinforcing. Maybe we do 4. So by setting the reinforcing at 4, you can see that we've created this gap between the rebar and the concrete activity. That's something we're going to want to optimize and resolve. But let's track our schedule back a little bit more. We've dropped it down to about a little over 2 years now. Let's keep going. Do our shear studs. Let's say we're going to need that many men. Our electrical inserts. All of the inserts, let's define as a 2 crew. Okay, so we're getting tighter. Still don't like that placement of concrete activity. Let's drag that up into alignment with the other activities. All right, so it's telling us we need a total number of 9 men to achieve that duration. Very well. Ideally what we're looking for when we go through the optimization process is parallel lines. Parallel flow lines indicate complementary workflow from trade to trade. But we must keep in mind that the impact of adding the manpower to these activities. That's where the resource feature of our schedule planner environment gives us some powerful feedback. Now, if I create a view that shows us, actually, I apologize, before we get into that, I did just notice that the weld metal decking is starting at the beginning of our schedule at the same time as our steel erection. So we do need to define a relationship between the steel erection and the slab on deck activities. I'll do that now directly within the flow line view. I can simply drag from these green dot to green dot to define a relationship. And there we have it. Now, you may notice that the activities up front look to be fragmented, while the activities in the back are straight lines. This is due to the fact that the different phases for installing steel and the slab on metal deck activities have a different location sequence. Allow me to illustrate. If I go back to the steel erection activity, you can see the order of locations defined along the left-hand side of the screen here is level 1, 2, 3, area A, level 1, 2, 3, area B, level 1, 2, 3, area C. So we're building vertically with the structural steel. For the slab on deck, we've got level 1, A, B, C, D, E. That is, we're building horizontally with the slab on metal deck. Now, how does that look? Well, as a QA step in the schedule optimization process, we can switch back into our Vico Office environment and take a look at the changes that we've made in the 4D construction simulation. So before I go any further in the planning or optimization process, let's save the work and go into our 4D simulation environment. Now, what you can see in the screen here is, again, the structural model. And I have predefined how we want this work to be represented in the 4D simulation. Let me show you real quick how to set that up under the Define 4D Simulation settings. On the left-hand side of the screen here, we have what we call 4D task groups. And these are just groups of activities or tasks. And the function of this screen here is to drag an activity from the right-hand side into the left to assign that activity to a task group, or basically assign it to a color. So for structural steel, we've defined this orange color. And by grouping the erect steel activity into the structural steel task group, it will be represented orange in the 4D playback. And it's similar for the rest of the 4D task groups. What I've done in this case is I've arranged the colors by trade, so or by subcontractor. So structural steel is one color. All of the metal decking activities, that is shakeout, weld, decking, and the edge forms, those are all going to be represented by this kind of olive green color. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, they all have a unique color. Reinforcing and concrete have their own unique colors. And I'll show you how these are represented in the 4D simulation. So again, we were just in our scheduling environment. And we have defined the colors for our activities. We're going to begin with an empty slab-on grade, and based on the relationships and the durations we just defined in our scheduling environment, I can push the play button, and we will see our construction simulation. Now, along the right-hand side of the screen, we have a legend that shows us the colors and the trades. You can see the steel going up in orange. And we're kind of QAing the process. Oh. Okay, so that seems a little bit weird. We've got apparently some steel cantilevering out over from the podium side onto the tower. So it looks like we might want to take care of that level of steel, installing that level of steel after we get the tower side done. So that's actually an error in our sequencing logic in the schedule right now that we'll need to go back and fix. So, again, using the 4D simulation as a tool to QA our schedule is a pretty powerful function. It allows us to visually see, what kind of errors we may have in our sequencing logic, in the schedule, in a much clearer way, in a geometric way. So let's take care of those. In order to do that, we're going to need to go back into our scheduling environment. Before I do that, I just want have everything arranged. Okay, we're going to go back into opening the schedule, go back into our flow line view, and we're going to need to resequence that work so that the steel on the fourth floor, on the roof level of the podium, does not get erected before the adjacent steel on the tower. So to do that, let's go back into our simple steel erection view. Again, this is just erect steel and shake out wind tack metal deck. We can reorder this work by changing the order of locations. You can see right now it's 1, 2, 3 AAA, 1, 2, 3 BBB. Again, installing vertically. The pieces that we're looking to resequence again are the level 4 areas D and E. So we can very simply shift those to the end if we wanted to, so that those level 4s will be completed after they top out steel on the tower side, or we could take those two locations and install them after level 4 is completed on the tower side. Let's actually shift them down so that they're completed after level 4 on the tower. I'll say that D is completed after B, and E is completed after C. I'm going to, so when I click OK, it's going to reorder the completion order in our view here, which I can then copy to our activity sequence for erect steel, shake out wind metal deck. We have our continuous line again. We've restructured our location sequence. Now we can save, go back into the 4D simulation, press play, and we should see those level 4 podium side steels. We should see those coming in after the tower side. Again, working up vertically. 1, 2, 3, area B. Next we've got 1, 2, 3, area C. And the steel stops at level 3 there. Good. That's how we resequence the order of completion. As we continue up, 4, 5, 6 on the tower side, you can see the various colors of the slab on deck. Down on the bottom here, each of those is an activity. Being performed per the legend down here and the subcontractor. You see that olive green is the metal decking going up. Lighter green is the fire protection inserts. We've got reinforcing now back on the tower side. Over here on the podium, this kind of salmon color. And going to be finishing out with the pouring of the concrete, which you can see in gray.